Reverend Robin Tanner of the Piedmont Unitarian Universalist Church wrote this lament and gave me permission to share it this morning. I felt it was appropriate to start with a lament. It goes like this. It's summer somewhere, the poet Denez Smith reminds us. It's summer somewhere, but not here. Not in the U.S. in 2016. No lingering summers with sweet tea or lemonade. No running through sprinklers. Instead, we are running through the images again and again in our minds of young men seizing in their last few moments of breath, of a mother crying, "Why, God?" as her child says, "It's okay, Mommy, I'm here." And her lover leans over the seatbelt toward her, bleeding to death for a broken taillight stop. Instead, our minds are filled with the man selling CDs, pinned to the ground and shot while screaming for his life. It's summer somewhere, but not here. No ice cream truck cadence is lilting its way through the midday heat. No, this sound is the shock and fear of officers running toward danger and falling in the street, never to walk through the door of home again. The sound of the operator again and again reassuring them that the police, their own, were coming. Their panic as the sound of bullets echo across the chamber of downtown Dallas. It's summer somewhere, but not here. Summer somewhere. The queer, Minneapolis-based poet Denez Smith reminds us. Are you feeling that this morning? Do you feel that lament, that longing? There's a story in all four of the Gospels that after the Last Supper with his disciples, Jesus went with them to the Garden of Gethsemane. And Jesus had a longing. He wanted one thing from them. Do you remember what Jesus' request was? Stay awake. Stay awake. I want to talk this morning about being woke, awakening to the reality of racial injustice, to the reality that the Black Lives Matter movement exists because Black lives have not mattered historically, and there's so much work to be done. I believe many of us have been woken by the stories in the news day after day of Black lives shattered and Black lives lost. Scrolling across our social media feeds, a new story, it seems, every single day. We say their names: Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Sandra Bland, Eric Garner, Freddie Gray, Philando Castile, Alton Sterling. Freddie Gray, who arrived at a Baltimore hospital in a coma with a severed spine, whose death was ruled a homicide. But this week, all of the officers involved were acquitted. No one will be held accountable. In Asheville, they are saying the name of Jerry Williams, who was shot by police on July 2nd. Here in Charlotte, the Queen City, we say their names. Jonathan Farrell, shot by Charlotte police in 2013. Larico Williams, shot by Charlotte police in July 2011. Janisha Fonville, shot by Charlotte police in February 2015. Jermonta Wallace, shot 26 times by Charlotte police on July 11th, just a few weeks ago. We say their names, and we are woke to the reality that this is not just happening in Ferguson, Missouri, or Baltimore, or New York City. It's happening right here in North Carolina, right here in Charlotte. But if you remember the story from the Gospels, Jesus began to pray, and what happened? They fell asleep. Jesus went up to them and said, "Here I am, facing my execution, and here you are, asleep. Stay awake," Jesus said. He went back to praying, and what did they do? They fell asleep. Jesus said, "The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." There are many ways to interpret this story, but I believe, as Robin preaches, That this is a story about how difficult and yet necessary it is for us as human beings to overcome the greatest sin, which is not the sin of hatred. It is the sin of indifference, of numbness, of apathy, of throwing up our hands and saying, what can I do? I'm just one person. The sin of falling back to sleep, unconscious, uncaring, unaware. This story calls us, in the midst of fear and heartache and fatigue and terror and confusion and exhaustion, to stay woke, to pay attention, to engage, to act, to be accountable for our communities and to each other. Not numb or turned away, because at this moment, despair cannot be an option. We must stay woke.